Hey guys, Sabrefox91o here and welcome to DGL Overwatch. Guys, today's a beautiful day, but before I get into that, I just would like to welcome Ulturism, my co-caster for the day and probably hopefully in the future continuously. Ulturism, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey guys, always good to see you. Sabrefox, I'm very excited for this, I must admit. I'm really keen to see these guys. They've faced off once before already where they Damage Control actually took a 2-0 victory over them in the first round of this Community Shield Cup. So if ever there was a time for retribution, both these teams got knocked down to the lower bracket. So now we're going to have to see if we can get a repeat of that first game.
Definitely, I'm pretty sure both these teams basically went over the previous games where they did play against each other to see what they did and also to watch the previous streams to see what they can improve on themselves and what the other teams do. This is usually one of the main mindsets what you have to do as a captain is rewatch your games, rewatch streams, see what you are doing, what are you doing wrong, what is the opposing team doing and what can you do to outplay them. That's very one important factor when it comes to competitive play all over.
Certainly, you see the pros. There is a reason why they are constantly like they've got proper analysts and they're busy checking what the strength, what the weaknesses, and one of the things that teams often do is they take that first map to just feel each other out, just sense where the other team is strong, where they're weak. But these guys have played against each other, so I'm guessing that this is going to be a game where we jump straight into it. You can see all the players are incredibly experienced. We're getting to the level 500 sort of characters, and we'll see these guys, I'm pretty sure, jump in there and really throw it at each other as hard as they've got.
Oh, no, definitely. I'm actually just gonna put this out there. I actually used to be part of the xTc team when they actually started out. I think there was about more than 10 of us, and we were all over the place. But then I actually eventually left and then went into full-on casting. But from then when xTc actually started, they didn't really know much. They basically just run and gun and nothing much going on. But they improved so much over the past few months. It's actually quite amazing to see this happen with the teams basically always improving themselves, seeing where they can basically just improve themselves. Sorry, I'm saying the same thing over, but improving themselves and fixing their small problems, bettering themselves at every step, around every corner, seeing every loss, every win as a step to a better team.
That's what Overwatch is all about. I mean, that's why the developers have always left it open, as you can swap heroes during the game. It's about learning what the other team is doing well, and you're right. They have gotten so much better. We have now just gotten the draft. It's going to be Route 66 first, then Kings Row, and then Nepal if we go to Game 3. So we're going to have 2 payload maps in the beginning. And in that first game, I see that Watchpoint, Gibraltar, and Kings Row were the 2 maps played there, both of which were taken by Damage Control. So considering they've proven that these are maps that they enjoy, I'm very interested to see tonight. But to go back to that point that you were saying, it's exactly right. These guys have had to get better. They've had to learn how to do it. So I'm very excited to see if they have managed to, from both sides, learn what the other team is doing and just try and improve upon their own strategies.
No, definitely. For my opinion, Route 66 is actually a very nice, very dynamic map. You have your little small close quarters, and then you have your big areas where you can flank all over. So this is actually a very good map as a warm up, if I can say like that, and also to see the different players play style. So both teams are going to get a nice feel of what's happening with each other. So it's quite interesting to see what these teams pull off here at the start.
It's also, I must admit, I like what you're saying. It is a nice map to feel each other out, but it's also a very strategic map. There's a lot of ground level differences, but it's also especially this first point. It very heavily favors that defender's team. So we're going to see these teams are going to have to be very good to try and break that first defense mounted up, which normally goes above on Big Earls there. So if these teams have the right strategies, it's going to really come down to some excellent team play from the attacking side when both of them get on the attacking team and just get through it. And when we get to those close quarters at the end, if we make it that far, then the action really picks up, and it's certainly quite a nice, dynamic, quite exciting final little push that can really come down to the wire.
Oh no, definitely. Usually what we see what the teams here do in the start, they usually do camp up there on Big O. They usually have a 6-man stack there. But now recently what I've seen, they have about 4 players there on Big Earls, and then they have 2 other players there on the right side canyon there, making sure that if there is a flank from that little tunnel, they are there to repel it or just slow them down as much as possible. So I'm quite interested to see what, it seems we have DC, which is damage control, on the defending side, which is blue, and then on red we have xTc black. So DC will be defending first, and as you can see already, as I called, we have a 4-man stack, but it seems like they are making a 3-way-3 split. But anyway, we are off, and xTc is on the push.
Toy Rocket was teasing us there in the beginning with a little bit of an Orisa pick, but has swapped across to McCree in his own toy, in his ground. You see him poking around with the Zarya bubble to pick it up, and there's a very nice little grenade from Anna, puts it down, and Farah coming in over the top puts in a lot of damage into the team, but everyone's healed back up now, and we're gonna have our first clash coming in.
And it definitely seems like xTc is making a steady push there, but it seems like Rowan got a nice hook there on Azul, breaking up the defense there from, the push there from xTc. They are without a Reinhardt, so without the little wall to push there, but it's not stopping them. They are pushing, already taking up the high grounds there, but it seems like the Lucio is going taken down, and Verd also gets taken down by Such Fab. Such Fab is also usually one of the main assaults that I've noticed from DC. So it's quite interesting to see right, him playing with McCree and also making use of all the utilities from him.
And it's this ability usage from the side of DC that's really impressed me so far. We saw that fight get set up there by Ronan with that great hook onto the Reinhardt, onto Nazul, and he managed to separate him from the team and really just pull the defensive capabilities apart there. And then we saw him get another hook on the Zalos's Lucio, which managed to let them just clean up the last little bit. But now we see a turnaround actually. Nazul's managed to pick up the other Reinhardt. He's still got his barrier up, and now they're scrambling. DC's scrambling to try and stay alive, but a great res from the back has picked everyone back up. Unfortunately, she paid with her life, the Lag Beast, but there's now a good amount of fighting with the desperate Transcendence trying to hold this off now.
And it seems like that sacrifice did actually help them well, but it actually got them the picks that needed. But DC completely wiped off xTc Black there from the payload. Sadly, we did see a few ultimates going there to waste, but I'm pretty sure it's nothing there that xTc can't come from back from. It seems like they're all setting up there. Toy Rocket already getting down Pac-Man, which is Anna, so they are DC's already down 1 player, which is a nice advantage there. They see to be pushing the bottom tunnels there, but they see that's not working because the whole team is just waiting for the end of the tunnel. It's a nice little close quarter, so Farah could do a lot of damage in those short corners.
I think they're trying to just avoid the Farah at this stage. It's done so much damage there, being able to poke around a corner, get down, and they don't have a lot to deal with her. They've got I see they've swapped onto the Soldier now just to try and shut her down a little bit. But Toy Rocket wasn't able to solo handle her. Oh, Lagby's going a little bit deep there, trying to just bail out sort of on this Z-Lord, my apologies, on this Reinhardt, and managed to do it, but ends up paying with his own life, this Lag Beast. But they've got 2 ultimates, they've got enough resources in there. Great hook from Ronan, manages to pull out the Zenyatta. That's a lot of healing that's going down, and now Z-Lord has gone into the action, is now swinging that big hammer, dives through the team, doesn't pin anyone, but is doing a lot of work now. Unfortunately goes down, not able to get that shield up in time.
Yeah, it seems like Lord actually got a bit stressed there and sadly used his Earth Shatter against the wall. The pressure got him. We have another Earth Shatter going, only getting Such Fab, but gets hook. Nice hook there by Ronan, and then also using a whole hog to make sure he pushes them off as much as possible. It seems like they actually, Cyberman actually started off with a... Sorry, it's not Cyberman, it was actually... Who was it? It's someone of the xTc team played with Farah to counter, with a Widowmaker to counter their Farah.
Oh, what an excellent Deadeye coming out there, setting it up and taking out the Farah from the side. But I have to, I am incredibly impressed by the tanks from this DC side. Zedlord and Ronin just holding that line, staying on that payload, making sure it doesn't get to that checkpoint, staying alive, even though the healers went down. Thankfully, they went down one at a time there. Lag Beast and Pac-Man just managing to stagger their deaths. There was always one man just backing them up now. And Zedlord's going deep, trying to keep them all off the payload. They just need to clean up the Zenyatta on the payload. And now we see the rest of the team from xTc coming in to boost them out. And with that, we get the nano boost from the Roadhog. Interesting choice of character there, but he and Zedlord have been playing so well together. Let's see if they can manage to keep the rest of the team off this payload and force us into a first point victory for them.
And that is it, the first point victory is there. The Ana boost on the Roadhog is actually a very good mix because of Roadhog's damage. He has already so much of it, so giving the little Ana boost actually, I would say, doubles that damage. So that's basically already a one shot, one kill if he basically gets that hit even from a distance. It kind of makes a very overpowered Roadhog, which you do not want to mess with. As soon as you see that, you run for your dear life.
Fair enough. After the changes, which made his shotguns a lot more concentrated, he is a lot more of a viable Ana target. I completely forgot about that change, in fact. And before that, in the triple tank meta, he certainly wasn't the best choice. But now when he can keep shelling out that damage, like you say, if he gets anyone within his crosshairs, he can delete them. Even the tanks don't stand up for that long about him. But I really think that what came down to it on that push was Pharaoh from the back raining in a couple of shots, and both the tanks just getting into the faces of the side of xTc and not letting them really focus on those tanks. We had like you pointed out, the Widow pick came out just to try and deal with her. Couldn't shut her down though, and they didn't manage to dislodge DC from the payload for long enough to get it through to that first choke.
What's this? It seems we have a little off meta pick here as Toy Rocket has his little toy turret out there. It's going with a Torbjorn. That's something completely different we see there. But then over to the rest of the meta pick, we see a lot of more Mercies these days because she is a very viable pick. That revive of her actually saves a lot of teams, especially when it comes to defending and also, well, actually both aspects attacking. When your team is down and the enemy team is basically at half health, that Mercy revive comes in so much, especially when it comes to ultimates taking down at least 5 or 4 of your teammates. You are the hero of the game when it comes to just gracefully, majestically falling in there and getting the revive.
You're completely right. Is that Mercy pick could end up being a turnaround, and there is no dive from the side of DC that can really get to the back and shut her down. So if she just managed, excuse me, she manages to keep her positioning good and just stay out of that Widow's scope, then she's going to be able to do a lot of work here and pick it up, like you say, and just turn a team fight.
Yeah, it seems like Troy Rocket actually got a nice early pick there on Lucio, who did try to flank. I'm guessing he was trying to get that little push off to make sure they don't have the high grounds. But it seems like DC is doing a complete circle here. They are flanking xTc from every direction. They have nowhere to go. Verd is in trouble there by Rowan on the roof, but Rowan seems to be missing every shot with Verd, where he has basically end of face. But Nazula's there to quickly make sure that he gets a revengeful kill there. But Rowan is just popping that little health pack of him, and he's up to go and ready to go again, and basically just down to Amnesia, which is the last one trying to stop the payload. And it seems to be all for nothing because Toy Rocket, his toys are not going to help him with this little area here.
It looked so good in the beginning there. We saw the side of xTc standing on top of that, and as the DC side flanked around, they dropped down on top of them. Reinhardt had his hammer swinging. Mercy was there, keeping everyone topped up, and they managed to take 2 or 3 kills there. But Ronan managed to get on top of that and just jewel out the soldier, taking away a lot of the damage from the fight, and the rest of his team was able to just come back and reinforce that position that he had taken, not letting anyone. There you see him on the top, and as the guys try to retake that high ground, they just end up in a firing zone for Cyberman's Soldier 76, and now it just becomes a cleanup. And just that amazing baiting them down, letting them drop down on top of you, and Ronan taking that high ground for himself just made sure that no one was able to really hold that point and keep it going.
I know definitely they that last push there from DC was an insanely well pushed. They did do a split up, but that actually meant the way they did it, xTc couldn't really target anyone because they didn't know for who to target, and which ended up to with their doom, meaning they were basically stuck there, getting sandwiched literally from every direction. It just kind of basically countered them completely with the picks they had there.
So what do you think about the Torbjorn pick? The wrong pick, or did they just DC play really, really well to take that? Was it not the pick that really decided the fate of that map?
Torbjorn can actually be a very viable pick. Like we actually spoke yesterday, we do see these off-meta picks, and we do see the top ESL teams that actually can pull this off. So maybe Troy Soldier actually had a good idea or strategy actually wanted to use that, but sadly I think DC had a nice repulsor. They actually just completely countered him there, so it was a good pick, but it got countered pretty fast. And Toy Soldier, when his turret actually went down, he didn't really put it back up again, so he didn't really make use of his always utilities, and I didn't really see much shield drops either, also due to the fact that he couldn't really collect the scrap metal as well. So for that early in the game, not getting much kills or anything, the Torbjorn was, in my opinion, a bit a silly pick. I think Bastion would have been a more reliable pick for that little area there.
No, you're completely right. That fight did not go on long enough for his turret to really get the value that they were hoping for. I mean, I'm guessing that they tried to put the Torbjorn on there just to try and buy some time for the Mercy to get up her res and just have that in the pocket to make sure that they can pick it up. But the DC side just ran straight at their faces, managed to take down that turret, and then he was just sitting around plonking. And you'd rather have a Bastion, you'd rather have a Soldier, you'd rather have most of your DPSs rather than a Torbjorn. But now we see, can this xTc side shake it off? They're going around the right, looking up for that drop down onto the side, I'm guessing. And here they go. There is a Mei on the side of the defending side, so they do need to be careful about being shut off and being separated and picked off. But the team's doing excellently to flank as Zarya jumps down onto the point.
Oh no, definitely. You see, like DC is making so much use here by flanking all the way around. Soldiers on the high ground there. Nobody's stopping him. He can basically just shoot at anybody from anywhere. Vert is basically trying to slow him down as much as possible, buying as much time for his team, but it goes down to such fab, which basically gets a double there on Narzel. And Cyberman is just at top, is causing so much damage from up above. Nobody is stopping him. He's getting the heals. He can heal himself. He is a big nuisance for xTc at this moment.
Subman, that first game, especially on the attack there, just showed how good his positioning is. He managed to get on the side. He goes down now, but he's bought his team enough time and enough pressure to be able to do it. But here we see a Mei wall that stops the retreat. They could be in for a bit of danger here, but they've got their respawn so close that it doesn't really matter. They do need to come back and pick up this payload, try to get 3 men on it and make it walk, but they're making so much time for themselves, and Cyberman just getting great positioning to make sure that the team, like you said, they're firing down from all the sides and just making sure that no one is there that can contest it.
Oh no, it's actually an amazing play we just saw there, but Such Trap actually going whole hog, but Toy Rocket denied that by using a flashbang, wasting his ulti. That was a very good deflect there, making sure they cannot use their ultimates and making sure they don't get any extra kills of that. But then it seems like it did go for nothing because DC completely pushed them so far back into their spawn. Such Fab again with that hook, getting a nice hook there on Wood, and at the end taking him out with the one shot in the face. It's just amazing. Such Fab is in his element at this moment and nobody's stopping him. He is on a roll.
Very interesting play there that they did, where you see a lot of teams just congregate around that payload. As we see the Earth Shatter comes out, 2 men, 3 men down now, and he charges and knocks. Oh, and Mei almost falls into the wall. Oh, but the Hawk manages to pull her off. Now Patches is trying desperately to hold alone, but actually needs to retreat and just try to get some sort of team back up. And Roadhog might have gone too deep now, and he does play with his life as Narzel comes out and swings that hammer into his face. And now this is the last chance for xTc to really get back on this payload and try to hold it in this last Little corridor, we see a Graviton Surge coming out, 2 men going down, and Transcendence make sure that they can clean up this fight. They desperately needed to use those ultimates to try and make sure that they don't lose it here just within this first push.
Yeah, I was actually about to say that xTc needs to take a second to regroup and make a nice dedicated push together, and just before that they did that with a lot of use of over ultimates. Well, not actually over ultimates, but with Bird and also then Anisha's ultimates, they managed to push them off there. But it seems like the ultimates are coming off from DC, which has taken out 3 of them, 4 of them already, and it's only basically Patch's now last one alive, and there's nothing stopping the DC push right now.
Beautiful little bit of combination there between the Whole Hog and the Graviton Surge just meant that they can put out so much damage. If I'm not mistaken, there was also a nano boost on top of that. May tried desperately to get that wall up to defend, but they could not stop all that damage coming through. Just ate through it, and with a really nice bit of team coordination there, the side of DC managed to push through that and really get a nice, good time on this the first round of this map. I don't know what they could have done from the side of xTc to stop that with such a good amount of team coordination there.
Definitely. You also saw there when Wood basically, as May tried to get on that payload as soon as possible, but then came Cyberman using the pulse, I think it's the pulse, well, her I think it's a pulse blast. A plasma blast, basically pushing Wood away from the payload, stopping him to actually be the counter push there, actually gaining that last little win for them. It's those little things, those little micromanagement that actually gets you the plays, making sure if you're that little bit faster, you will guarantee the win for your team.
So what does the side of xTc have to do now? They are 1 map down already. They've lost, they let the DC side push them all the way to the end. And we know that this DC side is good on payload maps. So what do they have to pull out at this stage? Do they need a specific pick? Do they need a specific strategy? How do they go about winning this?
Well, at the moment, at the previous round, they had the right picks, but they just weren't working well. They were letting DC bully them from everywhere around. They were letting them get onto the viable, like, high grounds and everything like that. And now we see here, Patches is going with a Widowmaker. Probably just to counter Cyberman, but I think rather than going with the Widowmaker, I'd rather have, I don't know, a 3rd tank or something. A Zarya helps you for extra shield protection against Cyberman, or anything besides a Widowmaker. Because that Widowmaker is not going to be much help. She's going to sit at the back and, you know, do not really help with the initial pushman. And I don't know, I think that's my opinion. They should maybe, I don't know, switch out the Widowmaker at this moment.
Widowmaker is one of those weird heroes that if you can get the headshots and get those 1 or 2 quick picks, then she becomes godlike and really can just win a team fight on her own just by pure numbers advantage. But if you don't hit those, then she becomes completely trash. And this side from xTc now needs to be very careful about their Nazul jumps really deep in and actually gets taken out. But there's these Symmetra turrets, which is going to make retreating out and pushing back in or reinforcing very difficult. So they do need to be very careful. They may actually have lost this team fight already and now need to just try get out or not stagger their deaths as much as possible. We see Patches just getting out there, running for some health, but it seems like Patches is keen to stay on this Widowmaker.
Yeah, we saw that the initial push, he did not get any picks whatsoever until I spoke now, but yeah, there wasn't really help with the initial push because they were all hiding in positions out of range of Widowmaker, and it basically cost them that first little push there, in my opinion.
They did have a certain amount of pressure being put on them, and Nazul went for the charge, now has Symmetra turrets busy eating him alive from the backside. But you're right, he didn't get any picks, and they ended up in a disadvantage. Nazul went through, and now an Earth Shadow onto him means he's very deep and very dead. We're coming in the back there with the Roadhog. Attack Visor comes in, and everyone's in the corner, but they all just dive into the side, and some very interesting picks coming out from the side of DC. We've seen the Symmetra, we've seen the Junkrat.
Yeah, I actually think Patches heard us talking about him maybe to change the Widowmaker, because he seems to be getting the kills now, which is helping them, because he actually made sure that they get the last push by taking down Junkrat, which is Suchfab. So he's at the moment making sure he's getting the viable picks, but now at the moment he is back to square one. He has a nice look there on Cyberman, gets him. Lag Beast is in the side there, but sadly does not get that kill. And while the rest of the xTc team is actually pushing up, Patches seems to be holding the rest of the team off, like hiding for cover. So this Widowmaker could actually be a very viable pick at this moment for them.
That's some of the pressure that Widowmaker exerts. Is a good Widowmaker. A bad Widowmaker exerts no pressure, doesn't take up anyone's mind, but a good Widowmaker, getting those key picks, just sits at the back of everyone's mind. They have to reconsider their positioning, they have to reconsider how they're playing and what heroes they're playing, and especially someone like a Reinhardt. You don't have that freedom to just swing whenever, because it could cost you a support's life. So Patches did get a lot of pressure on them, get a couple of picks, and now the xTc side is having to play a lot. xTc's in blue, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so it's getting the DC side to reconsider their play, and just now you see they're sitting a lot further back, and he's actually done really well. Now he switches to the Zarya, but his job is done from Patches, just getting those picks and making sure that no one can actually just run around in the open and try and fight them man to man.
Yeah, it seems like xTc did get a wake-up call at this moment, where they actually were getting the payload very far. And it seems like all the ultimates are going off, but DC is not getting one kill because that Transcendence saved them so much. It was a wonderful time in there by Amnesia, but that sadly goes down at the end. And we have a revive going. As always, the Mercy is there to save the game, because they are pushing xTc back, and they seem to be going to regroup themselves and see if they can make a little nice push that they did previously, but they are losing many people, which is going to cost them a lot of time.
Couple of little mistakes there from the side of DC, or from xTc, my apologies, where we saw the Transcendence and the Sound Barrier coming out together. One of those would have probably been able to hold off that ultimate. I mean, that Graviton Surge is completely countered by the Zenyatta ulti. So they might have messed up there, and they didn't end up taking the fight, but they do now have the ultimate advantage. They've got that hammer down, they've got that tack visor, and there's no ultimates. Now Dragon Blade comes up on the side of Suchfab from DC, but they seem to be losing this fight, even though they went in with the ultimate advantage. They may have just needed to run in there and try get a good hammer, but they weren't able to burst down that Reinhardt shield and get a reliable ultimate.
But actually, it seems like that Dragon Blade went into their favor, giving them the gap to waste time. But as you said previously, they actually did waste that to two ultimates from Lucio and Zenyatta. They should have made the communication. And we see all the ultimates going down there. And basically getting a team kill, except for Amnesia, who is running away, hiding in spawn, because he knows there's nothing he can do there. His team was doomed there at the end, having at least 3 ultimates going off there. That's nothing you could do against that.
DC's playing exceptionally well now. They know exactly how many ultimates it takes. They get the hammer down, which opens up for a really nice Graviton Surge. Maybe a little bit of overkill, but puts a nice little nano boost on top of it to clean up that last team. But now they're down, and now we see the ultimates coming down. Toy Rocket's down, unfortunately. His tack visor is not going to kill anyone. And Suchfab is down, but the rest of his team's looking very healthy. And now we see the Graviton Surge coming out, and Transcendence as well. There it is. So this might be the fight for the side of xTc, but they're staggering the deaths too much. They need to try get all of these kills very quickly to manage to get this last point. Otherwise, there's just going to be contention here on the point on this last few seconds.
Definitely. Actually, I think Mercy actually wasted her ultimate. They're only trying to heal Pac-Man, which for this instance now, they could have used that there while this over team is down. But now xTc's here with basically reinforcements. Lag Beast could have used that revive a few minutes earlier and have at least 3 people up ready to fight the xTc team and brush them off. But it seems like Pac-Man and Suchfab are just jumping around, buying as much time from them as possible. But it seems to be in the grasp of xTc at any second now. They're on their payload, waiting for the right opportunity. But as I said, with the Graviton Surge going down, nothing to show for it at the moment. But here comes the Dragon Blade, wiping them off, and that actually just bought them there. They have to make sure they stay on their payload, because this is the perfect opportunity for a Tracer or a Sombra just to sneak past there and get on a payload, pushing at that last little edge.
A great little bit of contention by both sides there, making sure to always keep someone on. I mean, how many times have you seen it where a team just gets more caught up in the kills and just they leave the payload and someone sneakily pushes it around the back? Now Nozzle and Toy Rocket have their combination of ultimates. Attack Visor comes in from the back. There goes the hammer down, and they need to try to clean this up quickly and efficiently. Although Lag Beast is on the back doing havoc with this Winston. We saw it work to such effect yesterday for Eden, but he's not killing anyone. Everyone's still up. That healing from Xylos and Amnesia are just keeping everyone healthy, and they actually managed to push it onto this last point. Even though there's 3 men from the side of DC on fire at this stage, they still managed to clean it up and take that and bring this back to the next round.
And that was definitely a very nice attempt there from xTc, pushing that, making sure they get the last push. Even though they only had 22 seconds remaining, and when it's lost, they only have 1 minute now to push this payload. I think they are actually in the attacking team now first, so they have 1 minute to push to get the payload as far as possible, where DC has 4 minutes and 49 seconds. That's a lot of time to work with there. So xTc has to push this payload as far as possible, and then the next round make sure they don't even get past the first checkpoint. So that's going to take a lot of work there from xTc. They're going to have to put everything out they have there, forget any weird strats they want to try to experiment with. They have to stick to the book here to make sure they get this done.
DC has almost as much time as they took in the first round to get the payload all the way, so you are right. That 1 minute is going to have to be used very wisely. They have no time to try and get this. They've gone for a very interesting support combination. What do you think of this? I saw that they used it there in the first round and it seemed to work out for them, but the Lucio and Zenyatta, is that a standard thing that this team runs, or just that we expect to see?
I think this is for the time they have now. The Lucio will help pretty well with the speed boost, and with the Zenyatta, his Discord orb will help so much getting down the heavy tank players, or even just like Cyberman, they're the far ranges, making sure they get the picks. But it seems like they already lost Toy Rocket there, which is going to cost them some time there, because they're now 5v6 at this first push.
Cyberman's going to have to play incredibly well to make sure he gets his positioning. We've seen him have amazing positioning. Xylos using his speed boost just to regroup the team and get them back out, try to heal everyone up. Now Cyberman against an Amnesia Zen was Soldier and Toy Rockets McCree. He could easily get picked out of the air very quickly if he's not careful with his positioning, but we see them diving through now. This xTc side with only 10 seconds left, this had to be the push for them, and they tried desperately to run through that side. And it doesn't look like they're going to be able to at all get even a man onto that little checkpoint, onto the objective. Toy Rocket desperately swaps to the Tracer to try and get on and buy them some more time.
He was only a few seconds away from getting on that payload, which actually maybe could have been the play they needed, because there was only 3 players on that checkpoint. And with the Lucio boost they also had there, that maybe could have been the push they needed, but it was only, that 1 split second too late there. So sadly that did cost xTc a push. Now basically all DC has to do is just capture that first point, and that is GG. They take the second map and also the game. Moving on to the semi-finals of a DGL Shield Community Cup, which can guarantee them a spot. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm still not entirely sure if it guarantees them a spot at DGC, if this is going to be a DGC title. We can only hope and support this game as much as we can to make sure that happens, though. But for now, it's still unclear. But they will get the title of the Shield Community Cup champions if they do tend to get past Eden, which is actually next up.
They've shown a lot of skill together as a team. We saw Eden last night showing an incredible dive comp, and we haven't seen that tonight. We've seen more of that death ball push. Interesting, Ronan sitting there on the Symmetra now, the Sombra now manages to swap off back to the
Zarya.
Jeez, these names. But just trolling us a little bit, I think. But we see them going onto that top. They used it to incredible effectiveness last time, just flanking around and they're going to have to make sure, xTc, that they can get Cyberman off that really nice perch that he had on that top one. We see McCree there just waiting it out, trying to defend that and making sure no one, but he has to drop down as the whole team rushes towards him. And now the high ground is on the advantage of DC as Ronan jumps into the whole team. Sleep on Narzul manages to keep his barrier down for a while, but no picks come out, and both teams are actually looking very healthy considering how long this fight has been.
Oh no, definitely, but it seems like even with that push, xTc somehow still seems to counter that. With Soldier, which is Cyberman, and Such Fat there at the top, causing a lot of damage. They are pretty much pinned down at the moment, so they seems to be running at each direction there at the moment, seeing as what they can do, waiting for their team to regroup. But it seems like Anna got a nice little sleep dart there on Toy Rocket, so that kind of went to a favor, and Anna going down to Nazul there with a nice little charge there by Reinhardt, getting a Earthshatter 2 down, Ronan and also Reinhardt getting down. I think xTc can pull this down. Because of the 2 assault players at the back, they are down 4 players, they are not helping much at the moment.
Nice little pick there from
Such Fab.
one of them on Word, it seemed, where they had that really nice positioning at the back, but you were right, the other 4 men are running in, and while the xTc side were busy chasing them, they decide, you know what, this isn't what's important, the objective is important, drops down, and they end up with a 6-on-4 fight, which they managed to clean up, while the 2 men, the 2 assaults from the back just can't do any damage. So now we see a little bit of a scrappy skirmish. Nazul surrounded by 3 and managed to get picked off, and Xalos used the ultimate. Toy Rocket has his and Amnesia has his, but they're going to have to use these now as they go for a 4-on-6 fight. So 2 men go down, and unfortunately we've got a little Zenyatta zipping around on the point, but as soon as that Transcendence ends, he goes down as well, and as this clicks up, we may just see this being the end of the match.
Yeah, that nice little high noon at the end there with the combination of Rowan's Graviton Surge actually got them the game. The whole team was trying to get on that payload, but Rowan was like, not today, sir, you will stay here. And then Such Fab is like, it's high noon, sir. And that basically got them the last little push. It's brilliant teamwork there from DC, sadly taking down xTc, meaning xTc gets thrown out of the Shield Community Cup and guaranteeing a next spot for DC there.
DC managed to do it in the first round of this competition. Here's that play that you were talking about. 3 men go in and they just all get trapped by that Graviton Surge and setting them up. Easy play for Such Fab to get that nice little play of the game there. Damage Control did it in the first round. They managed to 2-0 these teams, and they just showed that their power and their teamwork, proving that it wasn't a fluke and really doing some nice coordinated plays. The one thing I have to compliment them on is a lot of teams, when they lose a fight, they waste a lot of waste a lot of ultimates. They maybe don't get out as effectively as possible, but these guys know when the team fight is lost. They just either sacrifice their lives, get out, make sure that their deaths aren't staggered, pull together, group up outside, and then they made a very concerted effort. I mean, they only got team wiped once in that first, when they were on attack on that first round on the King's Row map, and they've got wiped once, said, you know what, that's fine. Group up at the spawn, go in, and they managed to pull the entire map out from that point onward. So congratulations to Damage Control.
Yeah, no, they definitely did show that they were the top team. But guys, thank you so much for joining us today on the DGL Community Shield Cup. I'm joined here by Ulturism. And guys, please do go check him out. His YouTube channel is linked in the description below. Ulturism, thank you so much for joining me today, sir. You are an insane caster.
Thanks, guys. I'm looking forward to just all the future games we get to cast together. Really enjoying this. Guys, thanks for joining Sabrefox. Thanks, Sabrefox, for hosting me and giving me this opportunity to just get onto your level.
I'm pretty sure you're already above my level. But anyway, guys, thank you so much.